Ethan had never seen the alien market so crowded. Bright lights flashed above stalls, voices shouted in strange languages, and the air smelled of spices, oil, and something he couldn't name. He moved slowly, looking at shiny objects and strange foods. That's when he saw it. On a wooden table, half covered by a red cloth, lay a bracelet. It was silver blue, glowing faintly like it held its own light. Thin patterns moved across its surface, shifting like ripples in water. It looked alive. He picked it up. The metal felt warm, almost pulsing against his skin. He smiled. Cool, he whispered. It looked valuable, maybe even rare. Without thinking, he slid it onto his wrist. The moment it touched his skin, the bracelet tightened slightly, as if adjusting to him. He didn't notice the tiny flash of light it gave, but someone else did. Across the market, Serenia froze. She was tall and graceful, her silver hair tied back, her pale blue skin shimmering under the lights. Her golden eyes widened in shock. Her heart began to pound. No, this can't be, she whispered. She pushed through the crowd, ignoring angry shouts. When she reached him, she grabbed his wrist and pulled him away from the table. Hey, you even know what you've done? She hissed, her voice trembling. Ethan blinked at her. Hey, what's your problem? That's a Lifebond bracelet. She interrupted. You wore it. You activated it. A what? Her hands were shaking. It's a sacred bond in my people's law. It means we are now life partners. Ethan laughed, but her expression didn't change. Come on, he said. You're joking, right? It's just a bracelet. The metal suddenly warmed again, and a bright silver glow pulsed from it. Ethan felt a strange sensation in his chest, like a heartbeat that wasn't his. Serenia took a deep breath. It's already linked to you. To me, the bond is real. It can't be removed. Not without special rites. Ethan stared at her. So you're saying I'm stuck wearing this forever? Yes, she said, her voice almost breaking, until death. Before Ethan could answer, loud metallic footsteps echoed through the market. 3 alien guards in dark armor were walking straight toward them. Their helmets glowed red, and each carried a long, spear-like weapon. Serenia's face went pale. They're here for me, she whispered. They'll take me away, and probably kill you. Ethan's stomach tightened. Why? Because bonding with a human is forbidden in my world, she said quickly. It's illegal, dangerous. The guard stopped a few meters away. The leader raised his weapon. You there, human, he barked. Release the girl. She is under arrest. Ethan instinctively stepped in front of her. She's not going anywhere with you, the guard's voice was cold. You have no choice. The bond is invalid. It will be broken by force if necessary. Serenia's grip on his arm tightened. Ethan could feel her fear. And something else. A strange warmth spread from her hand into his, as if her emotions were flowing into him. The leader took one more step forward. Hand her over. Now, Ethan didn't move. He didn't know why. But the idea of letting them take her filled him with anger. The guards raised their weapons, ready to strike. Serenia leaned close and whispered, If you want to live, run. Without thinking, Ethan grabbed her hand and dashed into the crowd. People shouted as they pushed through, knocking over baskets and stalls. Behind them, the guards roared and began chasing. They weaved through the narrow alleys of the market, the glowing bracelet on Ethan's wrist, pulsing faster, as if it was alive, as if it was guiding them. Finally, they slipped into a dark passageway between 2 tall buildings. They were breathing hard, their hearts pounding in sync. Ethan leaned against the wall. Okay, he said, between breaths, you've got some serious explaining to do. Serenia's golden eyes glimmered in the shadows. I will, she said. But first, I need to get out of the city, now. From somewhere close, the metallic sound of armored boots echoed again. They were still, being hunted, to be continued. The echo of armored footsteps grew louder, bouncing off the narrow alley walls. Ethan's grip on Serenia's hand tightened. Her golden eyes darted around, scanning for an escape. This way, she whispered, pulling him toward a rusted door at the end of the passage. She pushed it open, revealing a dim stairwell that smelled of metal and damp stone. They rushed down, the heavy door closing with a dull thud behind them. Ethan leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Okay. Talk. What's going on? And don't. Give me that life partner joke again? Serenia's face was pale, her voice serious. It's not a joke. The Lifebond Bracelet isn't just a piece of jewelry. It's an ancient device from my people's ancestors. When someone wears it willingly, it links their life with another's. It binds emotions, thoughts, even fate. Ethan frowned. You're saying I'm linked to you now? Yes, she said, her voice trembling. If I'm hurt, you'll feel it. If I die, the bond could kill you too. Ethan's stomach sank. That's insane. Her gaze softened, but fear still burned in her eyes. The bond is permanent unless broken at the Temple of Bonds, and even that is dangerous. Ethan rubbed his wrist, feeling the strange warmth of the bracelet. So why are those guards after us? Serenia hesitated. Because I am. Not just anyone. I'm the daughter of a high counselor from the Solari Empire. Bonding with a human is considered a betrayal to my people's traditions. They'll call it treason. Ethan let out a humorless laugh. Great. So I'm basically your outlaw husband now. She didn't smile. Yes. Before Ethan could respond, a faint humming filled the air. Serenia's eyes widened. Patrol drone. Small hovering machine floated into the stairwell, scanning with a red beam. Ethan cursed under his breath. Stay still, she whispered. But before she could react, the drone's light locked onto Ethan's wrist. It beeped rapidly. They've found us. Serena yanked him toward another door, leading them into a narrow underground tunnel. The sound of the drone's alarm echoed. Behind them, they ran for what felt like forever until the tunnel opened into a massive underground chamber lit by flickering neon signs. A dozen shady-looking aliens stood around, dealing in strange goods black market territory. Ethan slowed, uneasy. Are you sure we're safe here? Not safe, Serenia said. But safer than out there. A tall alien with 4 eyes and metallic skin stepped forward, blocking their path. He looked at Serenia, then at the glowing bracelet on Ethan's wrist. A slow grin spread across his face. Well, well, he said, in a low, gravelly voice. The counselor's little runaway. And her new bondmate. Ethan tensed. Who are you? The alien chuckled. Someone who can help you leave the city for a price. Serenia looked suspicious. We don't have much to offer. The alien's grin widened. Oh, you do. That bracelet is priceless. Even if I can't remove it, there are buyers who would pay fortunes just to study it. Ethan stepped in front of Serenia. Not for sale. The alien's smile faded, replaced by a cold look. Then you'd better find another way out, before the guards find you. As if on cue, the sound of boots and the whir of drones filled the chamber entrance. The black market crowd scattered instantly. Ethan and Serenia bolted down another side tunnel, their footsteps echoing. The bond pulsed between them, stronger now, could feel her fear, sharp and cold, mixing with his own. They emerged onto a rain-slick street in the lower city. Neon lights reflected in puddles, and the air was thick with the smell of oil and smoke. Where now? Ethan asked, scanning the streets. Serenia glanced toward a cluster of distant lights. There's a contact in the old district, a smuggler. If anyone can get us out, it's him. They hurried through the narrow streets, avoiding cameras and patrols. Every time they turned a corner, Ethan's heart raced, certain they'd be caught. Finally, they reached a crooked metal door with strange markings. Saranya knocked in a pattern, 3 quick, 2 slow. The door creaked open, revealing an old alien with gray skin, cybernetic eyes, and a rough voice. "Saranya," he said, surprised. "I thought you were dead." "Not yet," she replied. "But we need transport. Off-world, now." His gaze shifted to Ethan, then to the bracelet. Ah, so the rumors are true. He stepped aside, letting them in. Inside, the smuggler's hideout was cluttered with parts, weapons, and maps. He listened quietly as Saranya explained. Finally, he leaned back in his chair. "I can get you out. But the Solari guards aren't your only problem now. That bond, once it's activated, it sends out a unique energy signature. Anyone who knows what to look for can track you. And trust me, bounty hunters will." Ethan's chest tightened. "So basically, we're glowing beacons in space." The smuggler smirked. Exactly. Saranya's voice was quiet. "Then we have no choice. We leave tonight." From outside, the deep metallic sound of ships landing shook the walls. The smuggler's expression darkened. "They found you." Already, Ethan and Saranya exchanged a glance. The bond between them pulsed again, faster, louder, as if urging them to run. The smuggler grabbed a blaster and tossed another to Ethan. "Hope you can shoot, human, because this night's about to get ugly." To be continued. The smuggler's hideout shook again as the sound of heavy boots and clanging metal echoed outside. The walls rattled when a deep voice boomed through a loudspeaker. "This is the Solari Enforcement Division. Surrender the fugitive and her human bondmate now." Ethan gripped the blaster tightly. He had never fired one before, but the weight in his hand felt both strange and comforting. Saranya's eyes were fixed on the door, her golden irises glowing faintly. "They'll blast the door in," the smuggler warned. "You've got seconds, not minutes." "Ah!" Saranya turned to Ethan. "We can't let them take us. They separate. U.S. The bond will be torn, and that could kill us both." The smuggler moved to a panel on the wall and yanked a lever. A section of the floor slid open, revealing a narrow passage. "This leads to the old sewer tunnels. Not pretty, but it'll keep you alive." They didn't have time to argue. Ethan grabbed Saranya's hand and jumped into the dark passage, landing hard on damp metal. She followed, and the smuggler slammed the hatch shut above them. Moments later, the sound of the main door being blasted open rang through the hideout. The tunnel was pitch black, except for the faint glow from the bracelet. The air was damp, carrying the smell of stagnant water and rust. "Keep moving," Saranya whispered. They hurried forward, water splashing under their boots. Ethan's pulse was racing, not just from fear, but from something else. The bond was stronger here, in the dark. He could feel her heartbeat matching his own, could sense her tension like it was his own emotion. "Are you doing this?" he asked quietly. She shook her head. "No, it's the bond. The deeper it grows, the more we'll share." Ethan swallowed. "Share what exactly?" She hesitated. "Everything." Before he could ask more, the tunnel filled with a mechanical buzzing sound. From the shadows behind them, several patrol drones zipped into view, red lights scanning. "The darkness? Run!" Saranya shouted. They sprinted through the narrow tunnel, the drones chasing close behind. Laser beams sizzled past, hitting the walls and sending sparks into the air. Ethan fired his blaster over his shoulder. The first few shots missed, but then one beam hit a drone, making it explode in a shower of sparks. They burst into a larger chamber where the tunnel split into 3 paths. "Which way?" Ethan asked, breathing hard. Serenia closed her eyes for a moment, then pointed. "Left." They ran into the left tunnel, but the floor beneath them shook violently. Water poured in from cracks in the ceiling. "The city's flood system is opening," Serenia said. "They're trying to flush us out." The water rose fast, swirling around their legs. Ethan struggled to keep moving, the current pushing back with surprising force. Serenia's grip on his hand tightened. "Don't let go," she warned. "I'm not planning to." Ethan shouted over the roar of water. The tunnel sloped downward, leading them into a huge underground reservoir. They waded toward the far side, where a faint light glowed above a ladder. But before they could reach it, shadow moved in the water. A long, scaled shape rose from the depths, glowing green eyes locking onto them. It was an aquatic predator, long teeth glinting in the dim light. "Move," Serenia cried. The creature lunged. Ethan fired the blaster, hitting it in the side. It let out a deep, echoing roar, but didn't stop. Serenia pulled him toward the ladder. The water surged as the creature lunged again. Ethan turned and fired point blank at its face. The blast lit up the chamber, and the creature sank back into the darkness with a hiss. They scrambled up the ladder, emerging into an old, abandoned warehouse. The air smelled of dust and oil, but it was a relief compared to the sewer stench. Ethan collapsed against a wall, breathing heavily. Serenia was still holding his hand. "You saved us," she said softly. He gave a weak smile. "Guess I'm not a completely useless human after all." She looked at him for a long moment. "No, you're not." Before either could say more, a distant rumble shook the ground. Ethan peered through a broken window and saw several dark ships descending toward the city. Their sleek black hulls glinted under the neon lights, and each bore the crest of the Celery Empire. Serenia's face tightened. "Those aren't just guards. Those are bounty hunters." Ethan stood up quickly. "And they're coming for us. They'll track the bond's energy. They won't stop until we're caught or dead." Ethan glanced at the glowing bracelet. "Then we need to stay ahead of them." Serenia nodded slowly. "There's only one place they won't dare follow us, the outer wastelands. But to get there, we'll need transport, and someone brave or foolish enough to help." Ethan smirked. "I'm guessing we don't have many friends around here." "Not many," she admitted. "But I know one who owes me a life debt." Shadow crossed the moonlight streaming through the window, and Ethan's smile faded. One of the bounty ships had landed on the warehouse roof. Serenia grabbed his arm. "Too late to sneak out. We fight our way through." Heavy boots hit the roof above them. The hunters were here. The bond between them pulsed wildly, almost like it was ready for battle to be continued. The pounding of boots above them grew heavier, the sound of armored feet shaking the warehouse roof. Ethan and Serenia exchanged a tense glance. The bond between them pulsed faster, carrying the same sharp thought through both their minds. "We can't be caught here." The roof groaned under the weight of the bounty hunters as a heavy circular device began cutting through the metal. Sparks rained down, the smell of burnt steel filling the air. "They're cutting their way in," Ethan said, gripping his blaster. Serenia's voice was calm but urgent. "When they drop down, aim for their visors. It's their weakest point." Ethan gave a quick nod. His hands trembled, but he pushed the fear down. The circle of glowing steel fell inward, and 3 armored bounty hunters dropped through. Their armor was dark silver, bulky yet sleek, with helmets shaped like the heads of alien predators. Each carried a weapon that hummed with deadly energy. The first hunter moved toward Serenia, ignoring Ethan completely. That was his mistake. Ethan fired, hitting the visor with a crackling blast. The hunter staggered back, roaring in pain. The second hunter lunged at Ethan, The impact knocked the blaster from his hand. They crashed to the floor, rolling across the dusty ground. Ethan punched the hunter's helmet. Feeling the sting in his knuckles, Saranya's voice rang out in his head, not through the air, but directly in his mind. "Behind you?" Ethan spun just in time to avoid a killing blow. He grabbed a loose metal pipe and swung it hard, hitting the hunter's knee joint. Sparks burst as the alien fell with a metallic groan. Saranya fired her own blaster at the third hunter, driving him back toward a stack of crates. She moved with a kind of graceful precision Ethan had never seen, each shot perfectly placed. But more boots pounded above. Reinforcements were coming. "They'll keep sending more," Saranya said, breathing hard. "We need to move now." Ethan grabbed his blaster again. "Where to?" She pointed to a side wall. "There's a hidden door in the corner old smuggler exit. It leads to the outer loading docks." They ran across the warehouse, dodging fallen beams and broken crates. The bond between them pulsed again, guiding their movements as if they were one. Ethan knew where she was going before she even pointed. The hidden door was half buried under debris. Together, they shoved it open, revealing a narrow metal hallway lit by flickering lights. They sprinted down it, the sounds of shouting hunters growing faint behind them. At the end of the hall, a single sliding door stood closed. Saranya tapped a sequence on the panel, and it opened with a hiss. They stepped into the cold night air. Of the loading docks, cargo crates the size of small houses were stacked high, and the glow of the city faded behind them. In the distance, the black desert stretched endlessly under the twin moons. Ethan scanned the area. "Now what?" "We need a ship," Saranya said, "and I know who has one." She led him to the far side of the dock, where a low, battered freighter was parked. Its paint was peeling, and half the hull was patched with mismatched panels. "That thing looks like it could fall apart any second," Ethan said. "It's flown through asteroid storms," Saranya replied. "It'll do." As they approached, the ramp lowered with a squeal. A large four-armed alien stepped out. His skin was dark green, his eyes small and sharp. "Saranya," he said, his voice deep and rough. "I didn't think I'd see you again." "Vor," she said, with a small smile. "I need your ship. We have to reach the Temple of Bonds." Vor's eyes flicked to Ethan's wrist. "Ah, so the rumors are true. You bonded with a human." Ethan crossed his arms. "Against my will, if that matters." Vor chuckled. "It never does. But I can't just give you a ride. The Solari Empire is offering a huge reward for your capture." Saranya's voice dropped to a dangerous tone. "And I'm offering you something better. Life debt repaid." "Vers?" Smile faded. He stared at her for a long moment, then sighed. "Fine. But you'd better hope this temple is worth the trouble." They started up the ramp, but a loud alarm blared from the docks. Searchlights swept across the area, and the hum of engines filled the air. Ethan turned to see two more bounty ships descending fast. Vor shouted, "Get inside." Now they ran into the freighter as the engines roared to life. The ramp closed and the ship lifted off, just as blaster fire rained down from above. The ship shook violently, but Vor kept it steady. Ethan grabbed a nearby handle, holding on, as the freighter shot into the black sky. Through the cockpit window, the city shrank below, the desert stretching wide around it. Saranya stood beside him, her gaze fixed forward. "This is only the beginning. Once we reach the temple, we'll have to decide if we really want to break this bond." Ethan met her eyes. "And if we don't," her lips curved in a faint smile, "then our lives will never be our own again." The bond between them pulsed once more, warm, strong, and impossible to ignore. To be continued. The freighter rattled as it left the planet's atmosphere. Ethan gripped the edge of the console, feeling every shudder of the old ship. Vor sat in the pilot's chair, his 4 hands moving quickly over the controls, muttering curses in a language Ethan couldn't understand. Serenia stood by the side window, her golden eyes fixed on the blackness of space. Stars streaked past. As the freighter jumped into hyperspeed, the view outside turning into long white lines, Ethan stepped closer to her. "So, we're safe now." She didn't turn. "No, not yet. The bond makes us easier to track. The Solari ships will follow our energy signature." Ethan frowned. "Great, so even out here, they'll come after us." Serenia finally looked at him. "Yes, that's why we must reach the Temple of Bonds quickly. If we delay, others will. Find us first and not all of them will take us alive." He leaned against the wall. "And you're sure breaking the bond is the best choice?" Her expression shifted slightly. "I'm not sure of anything anymore." Ethan felt the bond pulse, a wave of mixed emotions flowing between them, her uncertainty, his curiosity, and something softer neither of them wanted to name. Before he could say more, Vor called out from the pilot's seat. "We've got company." Ethan moved forward and saw a dark shape on the radar, closing fast. Vor's eyes narrowed. Not Solari patrols. This one's smaller, faster. A bounty hunter craft. The ship trembled as a blast hit the side. Red warning lights flickered inside the cockpit. "They found us already?" Ethan asked. Serenia's voice was calm, but sharp. "They must have been waiting outside the system." Vor growled. "Hold on. I'll try to lose them." The freighter swerved sharply, Ethan grabbing the nearest seat to avoid falling. Another blast hit, shaking the ship again. Serenia moved to the weapons console, her fingers dancing over the controls. "I'll handle the turrets." She looked at Ethan. "Come with me." They ran down the narrow corridor to the gunner's station. The room was small, with a rotating seat surrounded by glowing screens showing different angles of space. Serenia slid into the main seat, Ethan taking the secondary one beside her. "See those green markers?" she said, pointing at the screen. "Those are enemy weak points. Aim there." The ship rocked again as another shot hit the hull. Ethan grabbed the control handles and fired. Bright beams shot into the darkness, barely missing the sleek black hunter craft that darted like a predator around them. Serenia's shots were faster, more precise. She hit the enemy's side, sending sparks and debris flying. But the craft kept coming, circling around for another attack. "Persistent, aren't they?" Ethan muttered. "Bounty hunters don't stop," Serenia replied, "especially when the reward is big enough." The hunter ship fired again, the blast grazing their engines. Alarms blared. Vor's voice echoed over the comms. "One more hit like that, and we're done. Take them out." Ethan focused, timing his shots with the enemy's movements. The bond pulsed again, and suddenly he could feel Serenia's focus, her concentration becoming his own. Their shots synced perfectly, hitting the craft in the same weak point at the same time. The enemy ship spun out of control, a trail of fire behind it before exploding in a flash of white light. Ethan let out a breath. "Nice shot, Serenia." Allowed a faint smile. "Yours too." They returned to the cockpit. Vor was already plotting a new course. "We can't go straight to the temple," he said. "We need supplies and a place to hide for a few hours. There's a trading post on the edge of the wastelands." Serenia nodded. "We'll stop there, but we don't stay long." The trip through hyperspace was quieter. Ethan sat across from Serenia in the small crew quarters. She was checking a small silver device, her fingers moving quickly. "What's that?" he asked. "Bond stabilizer," she said. "It keeps the connection from overwhelming us. Without it, we'd start sharing too much, even thoughts we don't want to share." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Sounds dangerous." She glanced up at him. "It can be. Humans and Solari think differently. If we share too much, one of us could lose our sense of self. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan said quietly, "What happens if we don't break it?" Saranya looked away. "Then we belong to each other forever." The bond pulsed again, warm, steady, almost comforting. Ethan wasn't sure if it was her feeling or his dot before he could think more about. Vor's voice came through the intercom. Approaching the trading post, the stars returned to normal as they exited hyperspace. Ahead was a massive ring-shaped station spinning slowly in the dark. Docking lights guided them toward a port on the lower side. "Remember, Saranya," said standing. "Keep your hood up and don't talk too much. The wrong person hears your voice and we'll be running again." They stepped off the ship into the noisy chaos of the trading post. Stalls lined the metal walkways, selling weapons, food, and strange alien artifacts. The air was thick, with the smell of smoke and oil. Ethan stayed close to Saranya, but the crowd pressed around them. He caught glimpses of rough-looking aliens watching them too closely. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a figure speaking into a communicator while staring directly at them. "Saranya," he whispered. "We've been spotted." She turned. Her head just enough to see. Her jaw tightened. Back to the ship. Now, they moved quickly, but the sound of boots followed them. A voice called out from behind, "Stop them. The bounty is alive." The crowd erupted into chaos as armed figures pushed through. Ethan and Saranya ran, the bond between them pounding like a shared heartbeat. They reached the docking bay just as blaster fire lit the air. Vor was already lowering the ramp, shouting, "Hurry!" They sprinted aboard, the ramp closing as more shots struck the hull. The freighter lifted off fast, engines roaring, as the trading post vanished behind them. Ethan glanced at Saranya. "Still think we can make it to this temple?" Her golden eyes locked on his. "We have to, because now they'll never stop chasing us." The bond pulsed against, stronger than ever. To be continued. The freighter drifted through empty space. Far from any trade routes, Vor had set the engines to low power, letting the ship coast in the dark. Outside, the stars shone like 1,000 silent witnesses. Ethan sat in the crew quarters, cleaning his blaster. Saranya sat across from him, her hood down, her silver hair catching the dim light. The bond between them pulsed softly, calm for the first time in days. "You're quiet," Ethan said. "I'm thinking," she replied. "Every move we make brings us closer to the temple, but also closer to those chasing us." He gave a faint smile. "Sounds like we're famous." Her lips curved slightly, but her eyes stayed serious. "Fame like this only ends to ways capture. Or death." Before Ethan could reply, Vor's voice came over the ship's comms. "We'll need to make a stop before the temple. There's a fuel depot on the edge of the Ebon Belt. I know the owner. He can give us what we need. No questions asked." Ethan frowned. "I thought we had enough fuel." Vor chuckled over the comm. "Enough to reach the temple." "No, trust me, this is necessary." Saranya's gaze flicked to Ethan. The bond carried a faint ripple of her unease. "You don't trust him?" Ethan asked. "Vor owes me a life debt," she said. "But debts can be forgotten when the price is high enough." They stayed in silence as the ship dropped out of hyperspeed. Ahead lay a small battered station, floating alone in the black. Its lights flickered and parts of its hull looked half broken. They docked without trouble. Vor led the way down the ramp, his large frame moving easily despite the low gravity. The station's air smelled of metal and stale oil. A short alien with pale skin and bulbous eyes greeted them. "Vor, it's been too long," the alien said, grinning wide. His gaze slid quickly to Saranya and Ethan. "And these are your friends." Business partners, Vor said smoothly. They need fuel and supplies. The alien nodded. Come, we'll talk in my office. Inside the cramped office, the alien pulled up a datapad. Fuel's not a problem, but supplies. They'll cost extra. Vor leaned in, lowering his voice. Maybe we can work out a trade, information or cargo. Ethan's eyes narrowed. What kind of trade? The alien's grin widened. The kind that makes everyone rich. You see, the Celery Empire is paying very well for a bonded human and their partner. Ethan's stomach sank. You've got to be kidding me. Serena stepped forward, her voice sharp as a blade. Vor, you wouldn't, but she didn't. Finish. The station's lights suddenly turned red, and heavy metal doors slammed shut. Ethan's hand went to his blaster, but before he could draw it, the alien pulled a small device from his belt and pressed it. Pain shot through Ethan's wrist, burning like fire. He gasped, clutching at the bracelet. Serena stumbled too, grabbing her own wrist as if she felt the same pain. What is that? Ethan choked out. The alien smirked. A bond disruptor causes pain to both linked partners. Very effective for keeping troublemakers still. Vor's voice was cold. Sorry, Serena. But the bounty on you both is worth more than any life's debt. The bond pulsed wildly, sending Seranya's rage and Ethan's anger into each other's minds. The pain made it hard to think, but it also sharpened their instincts. In the corner of the room, Ethan spotted a vent. Can you walk? He whispered to Serena. She nodded faintly. If we break that device, Ethan lunged forward suddenly, pretending to stumble. He crashed into the desk, sending the datapad flying. The alien cursed, stepping back, and that was enough for Serena to grab the disruptor from his hand. She slammed it to the floor, breaking it in half. The pain vanished instantly. Vor roared and reached for his weapon. But Ethan fired first, hitting the blaster in Vor's hand and sending it spinning away. Serena kicked the alien host in the chest, sending him sprawling. They didn't wait for more trouble. Rushing out of the office, they ran through the narrow station corridors. Shouts rose behind them. Docking bay? Serena called. They burst into the bay just as VR's heavy footsteps thundered after them. Ethan spun, firing a warning shot that made Vor dive for cover. They ran up the freighter's ramp, and Serena slammed the control to close it. Vor appeared at the edge of the ramp, his eyes blazing. You won't make it far. The ramp sealed, and moments later, the freighter blasted away from the station. In the cockpit, Ethan dropped into the co-pilot's chair, breathing hard. That was close. Serena didn't sit. She stood beside him, staring at the stars ahead. Closer than you think. Vor will tell them exactly where we're headed. Ethan turned to her. Then we need to reach the temple before they catch us. She met his gaze. The bond pulsing between them, stronger than ever, after the danger they'd just faced. And when we get there, we'll have to decide if we want to end this connection. Because after today, I'm not sure I do. Ethan felt her emotions through the bond fear. Yes, but also a warmth that mirrored his own. He didn't know what to say, but for the first time, the thought of breaking the bond didn't feel like the obvious choice. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, and somewhere in that vast darkness, hunters were already on their way to be continued. The freighter streaked through hyperspace, the stars outside stretching into long white lines. Ethan sat in the co-pilot's chair, watching the navigation screen count down to their destination, the Temple of Bonds. Serena stood near the cockpit window, silent. Her golden eyes reflected the light from the passing stars. The bond between them was almost humming now, steady but powerful. As if it knew this was the final step, Vor's betrayal still burned in Ethan's mind. They had escaped, but only barely. And now, if Saranya was right, bounty hunters and Solari ships were closing in from every direction. When we reached the temple, Ethan said quietly, "Are you sure you want to do this? End it?" Saranya turned to him, her voice soft but steady. "I don't know. This bond, it has put us in danger. But it has also saved us. And you." Ethan gave a faint smile. "I think it saved both of us." The navigation screen beeped. Ver's patched-up freighter dropped out of hyperspace, revealing a barren moon hanging in the darkness. On its surface stood the Temple of Banza, massive, black structure shaped like a crown, its spires reaching toward the stars. Strange silver patterns glowed faintly along its walls, shifting like flowing water. "That's it," Saranya said, her voice carrying both awe and tension. They landed on a flat stone platform near the temple. The air outside was thin but breathable, and cold enough to bite at their skin. The massive temple doors opened with a low, rumbling sound as they approached. Inside, the air was still, heavy with an ancient presence. Silver flames burned in tall bowls, casting dancing shadows on the walls. At the center of the hall stood a single figure, tall alien draped in deep crimson robes, its face hidden by a silver mask. "Welcome," the figure said, its voice echoing. "You seek to end your bond." Saranya hesitated. "Yes, maybe." The masked figure tilted its head. "The bond is rare between species. It cannot be undone lightly. If you choose to break it, it will be as if you never met. Every shared memory will fade. Every feeling will be gone." Ethan froze. "Waiter," saying we'll forget each other completely. "Yes," the figure said simply. "That is the price of release. To end the bond is to end all connection." The words hit Ethan like a punch. Forget her laugh. Forget her golden eyes. Forget the way her emotions flowed into him through the bond. Forget everything. Saranya's gaze flicked to him, her voice barely above a whisper. "Ethan, if we don't, we will always be hunted." Before he could answer, the temple floor trembled. A deep rumble shook the walls. "They found us," Saranya breathed. Outside, the roar of engines grew louder. Through the massive doors, they could see the shapes of ships landing sleek, black hunter craft and the silver armor of Solari soldiers. The masked figure stepped aside. "The choice is yours, forever or never." Ethan's heart pounded. If we break it now, we forget each other. If we keep it, we'll be running for the rest of our lives. Saranya's voice cracked. "Then what do you choose?" The first blaster shot echoed through the temple. Guards rushed in, their weapons raised. Ethan didn't think he grabbed Saranya's hand. "I'm not letting go." The bond flared instantly, a warm, bright light pouring from the bracelet. It spread between them, wrapping around their hands, their hearts, their very beings. The masked figure's voice rose over the noise. "Then complete the bond fully, and no one will ever be able to break it." Ethan and Saranya stepped forward onto the glowing circle in the temple's center. The energy surged through them, linking their thoughts completely. For a heartbeat, there was no difference between his mind and hers. They were one. Outside, the soldiers stormed in, but the moment they crossed the temple's threshold, a powerful force flung them back. The glowing circle pulsed, sending waves of energy outward. The masked figure's voice boomed. "The life bond is complete. Harm to one will bring death to the other. And together you are stronger than any who would hunt you." The light faded. The bond was no longer just a pulse, was a steady, powerful presence in both their chests. Saranya squeezed Ethan's hand. "We stay together," he smiled. "Forever." The temple doors slammed shut behind them, sealing out the hunters. In the silence that followed, Ethan knew the chase wasn't over, but now, they wouldn't just be running. They'd be fighting. Back as they walked out into the cold moonlight, the bond whispered between them, not in words, but in the certainty that whatever came next, they would face it as one.